All right, let's jump right in and take a deep dive into the world of Apple.
Yeah, always a fascinating topic,
It
right?
really is,
Yeah.
especially when you think about how they've managed to build this, like, empire on sleek design and cutting-edge technology.
It's more than just the tech, though, isn't it?
Exactly. There's this emotional connection they've cultivated with their customers.
Almost like a cult following, some might say.
Yeah, I mean, people camp out for days just to get the new iPhone.
It's crazy.
So how do they pull it off? Well, that's what we're going to find out today.
Looking forward to it.
We'll be dissecting their business model, from their dominance in innovation and design to their premium pricing strategy.
And of course, we have to talk about that emotional branding magic.
Oh, absolutely. And we can't ignore the elephant in the room either, their reliance on iPhone sales.
That's a big piece of the puzzle for sure.
We'll also explore their strategic shift toward services and privacy, which may be their way of addressing that very dependency.
Right. Trying to diversify a bit.
Exactly. But it's not all smooth sailing.
Oh, definitely not.
We'll also unpack some of the criticisms surrounding Apple, like planned obsolescence and their role in the growing e-waste crisis.
Lots to unpack there.
It's going to be interesting. Get ready for some juicy debates.
Oh, absolutely. And here's a twist for you.
Oh.
Apple's actually making moves towards a circular economy with initiatives that could position them as a leader in tech recycling.
Really?
Yeah, it's a fascinating paradox for sure.
Okay, so let's break it down, starting with their history of innovation. I think back to the iPod, iTunes, Mac OS, the iPad.
A lot of hits.
They've consistently disrupted the tech landscape.
Yeah, they have.
But the real game changer was the iPhone.
Absolutely. The iPhone wasn't just a new product.
It was like
It was a paradigm shift.
yeah.
And the App Store, that came with it. That created a whole new ecosystem,
Right.
a digital marketplace, changed the way we consume and interact with technology.
It's like they built a whole digital world within their devices.
You could say that.
And they keep pushing the boundaries of innovation. Like, take the M1 chip, for example.
Oh, yeah.
They moved away from Intel, developed their own processor,
Bold move.
and the performance gains were mind-blowing.
Really were.
It's a great example of how they're not afraid to take risks and shake things up.
They're not afraid to go all in.
That's what sets them apart, their willingness to just go all in.
For sure.
But it also begs the question, how much of this innovation is truly groundbreaking versus iterative?
That's a good point. A lot of what Apple does is refine and polish existing technology.
Right.
But even those refinements, they contribute to their image as a leader in design and user experience. They're masters of taking something complex and making it feel intuitive and elegant.
It's true. Their products just, they just feel good to use.
They do.
Speaking of which, let's talk about design. Apple is often described as a design company rather than just a tech company.
Yeah.
What do you think makes their design philosophy so unique?
Well, it's about more than just aesthetics. It's about the entire user experience. From the way a product feels in your hand to the simplicity of the interface.
Right.
They obsess over every detail, and it shows.
The Apple Watch is a great example of this.
Yeah. How so?
They didn't just make another smartwatch. They turned it into, a fashion statement,
Oh, yeah.
a status symbol. I mean, some of their models cost more than a car.
It's true.
And people are willing to pay those premium prices.
Because they're buying into the brand,
Oh,
that image of exclusivity and sophistication.
It's like they've created this halo effect around their products.
Totally.
But how sustainable is this premium pricing strategy in the long run?
That's the big question.
Especially as competitors like Samsung and Google offer similar features at lower price points.
Right, right.
So what do you think?
Well, Apple's banking on the idea that their brand loyalty is strong enough to withstand the pressure of competitive pricing. They're betting that people are willing to pay a premium for the perceived quality, the seamless integration, and that Apple ecosystem we talked about.
That's a risky bet.
It is.
But so far, it seems to be paying off.
So far, yeah.
They've cultivated a customer base that's fiercely loyal, willing to shell out top dollar.
They really have.
But there's another side to this story.
Oh.
The criticism that they're using their brand power to encourage unnecessary upgrades.
The planned obsolescence debate.
Right.
It's a tricky one.
It is.
There's no denying that Apple releases new models with a frequency that encourages, maybe even pressures, consumers to upgrade.
And then there are those software updates that seem to, magically slow down older devices,
Yeah.
making that shiny new model even more tempting.
Right, right.
Apple claims those updates are about security and functionality.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But it's hard not to be cynical.
It is.
And when you consider the environmental impact of all those discarded devices, it raises some serious questions about their sustainability practices. Yeah, for sure. The e-waste issue is huge. We're talking mountains of discarded phones, laptops, other electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And as the world's leading tech company, Apple plays a significant role in this.
They do.
The numbers are staggering. Did you know that the value of raw materials in e-waste produced in the U.S. alone in 2019 was over $7 billion?
Wow.
That's a lot of valuable resources ending up in landfills.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
So what is Apple doing to address this? Are they just contributing to the problem, or are they making a genuine effort to be part of the solution?
Well, that's where their circular economy initiatives come in.
Okay.
They've introduced programs like the iPhone trade-in program, which encourages recycling and potentially reduces e-waste.
So you can trade in your old phone and get a discount on a new one.
Exactly.
But what happens to those old devices? Are they really being recycled properly?
That's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Apple actually refurbishes and resells many of these phones, extending their life cycle. Yeah, and they also recover valuable materials, like gold from discarded devices.
So they're not just tossing them in a landfill.
Not at all. They've invested in advanced recycling robotic technology to extract valuable materials from e-waste.
Wow.
It's part of their commitment to using more recycled materials in their products.
And they've even set a goal to make most of their products and packaging from recyclable or renewable materials.
That's a pretty bold move.
It is.
It's a step in the right direction, but some argue it's just a clever PR tactic,
Right.
a way to greenwash their image.
So the question is, are these initiatives a genuine attempt to reduce their environmental impact?
Or just a way to appease environmentally conscious consumers?
Right.
That's the million-dollar question. We'll dive deeper into their sustainability claims later on and see if they hold up to scrutiny.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from Apple's history of innovation to the planned obsolescence debate and their efforts in the circular economy.
A lot to think about.
But we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we have.
In part 2, we'll delve into their strategic shift towards services and privacy,
Right.
which could be a game changer for their future.
Absolutely. Could be.
Stay tuned, because this deep dive is just getting started.
Welcome back. Ready to dive back into the Apple universe.
You bet. I'm especially curious about this services shift they've been making. Seems like a pretty big deal.
It is. For years, they were all about hardware, right?
Yeah, iPhones, Macs, iPads, that was their thing.
But they've recognized they need to diversify,
Makes sense. Can't rely on one product forever.
especially in tech where things move so fast.
So, spill beans, what are these magical services they're banking on?
Well, you've got the App Store, Mac App Store, of course. Those are huge.
Yeah, digital gold mines.
Then there's Apple Music, their answer to Spotify.
Right.
Apple Pay, trying to change how we pay.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget Apple Care, that extended warranty.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be bringing in some serious cash.
It is, they're basically creating this whole ecosystem around their devices.
Yeah, keeping users locked in and spending more.
Smart move from a business perspective.
Definitely. And I've heard investors are excited about the services segment.
They are. It's seen as more stable than hardware sales.
Yeah, I could see that. But what I find really interesting is how they're tying the services push to privacy.
Ah, yes, the privacy play.
It's a big deal these days, with people more aware of how their data is being used.
Huge.
And Apple's positioning themselves as the good guys, right?
The champions of privacy, especially compared to those data-hungry giants like Facebook and Google.
It's brilliant marketing, really.
It is. They're tapping into a growing concern.
And they're backing it up with features like sign in with Apple.
Right, sign in without giving up all your info.
It makes you wonder, are they truly committed to privacy? Or is it just a way to stand out from the competition?
That's a good question. They still collect data,
They do?
but they're very careful about how they talk about it. They emphasize they're not selling your data to advertisers, which is a key difference.
And it seems to be working. People trust them more.
It's a powerful message for sure.
It is. And they're not just stopping there. They've got other privacy-focused features too, like one-time location access in iOS 13.
Giving users more control.
Exactly. It's like they're building a walled garden, this safe space where your data is protected.
But is it really that simple?
Well, that's the thing, right? We've seen how tech companies can be slippery with their promises.
Yeah, you always have to be a little skeptical.
Exactly. But you can't deny that Apple's making an effort here, trying to be the privacy-conscious alternative.
They are, and that's appealing to a lot of people.
No doubt, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Definitely will.
But for now, let's shift gears a bit, talk about something a little less abstract. Apple's financial performance.
All right, let's dive into the numbers.
Hit me. Welcome back. Are you ready for the final part of our Apple deep dive?
I am. It's been a fascinating journey so far.
It really has. We've covered so much ground, from their innovative products to their sustainability efforts.
And their financial performance, don't forget that.
Oh, right. Those numbers were impressive.
They were definitely a company at the top of their game.
But now I want to look ahead. What's next for Apple? They've been so successful. Can they keep it up?
That's the big question, isn't it? They've always been masters of reinvention.
True. Who would have thought they'd go from computers to, like, dominating the smartphone market?
It's remarkable.
But the tech landscape is constantly changing. What are some of the challenges they're facing?
Well, the smartphone market is getting saturated, that's for sure.
Right. Everyone who wants an iPhone probably already has one.
And competitors are catching up, offering cheaper alternatives.
So can Apple maintain that premium pricing strategy?
It'll be tough, but they have that brand loyalty.
Yeah, that's a powerful force.
And don't forget about the regulators. Those antitrust lawsuits and App Store controversies.
Oh yeah, those could really impact their bottom line.
They could. Navigating that regulatory landscape will be crucial.
But even beyond those external pressures, there's that internal challenge, their dependence on the iPhone.
It's their golden goose, but what happens when the goose stops laying golden eggs?
They need to find new avenues for growth, which is why their push into services is so interesting.
Exactly. They're building that ecosystem, keeping users locked in.
But it also raises concerns about competition and consumer choice.
It does. Are they becoming too powerful? Too controlling?
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to that bigger question of sustainability.
Can they balance profits with responsibility?
Right. We've seen their efforts with recycling and using recycled materials,
But is it enough?
especially with their massive production scale and that constant upgrade cycle they encourage.
It's a tough one. Can they move away from planned obsolescence? Design products that last longer?
That would be huge, but are consumers ready for that?
Maybe, maybe not. It would require a big shift in mindset.
It would, both for Apple and for consumers.
Yeah. But imagine a world where we break free from that throwaway culture.
It's a nice thought.
It is.
But for now, it feels like Apple's stuck between two worlds, that world of profit maximization and the world of conscious consumption.
And which world will they choose? That's what will define their legacy.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive, and I have to say I'm left with more questions than answers.
That's often the case with these complex topics.
It is, but it's also what makes it so fascinating, right? It sparks curiosity, makes you want to keep learning.
Hey, the story of Apple is far from over.
Not even close, and we'll be here to cover it every step of the way.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been a pleasure having you along for the ride.